Techno Cop. Busted.
With a title screen like that, you might think you're in for a wild cops and robbers ride that you'll never want to get off of. And with that, you'd be half right, because this is one wild game that unfortunately has an extremely short shelf life. Before we get to the good stuff, however, we have to suffer through some of the worst driving sequences to be found in this era. What could have been an exciting vehicle combat section feels more like a Sunday drive thanks to a combination of the road being empty half the time and the enemy vehicles acting as little more than moving roadblocks on your journey to the crime scene. Your cherry red VMAX twin-turbo Interceptor comes equipped with a rapid-fire gun mounted on the passenger side that for some reason fires beach balls instead of bullets. Regardless of how it looks, it does get the job done by turning enemy vehicles into a cloud of smoke. Your car also has nuclear-tipped torpedoes that will detonate in the distance and destroy whatever town you were headed towards. As you drive, your dashboard will let you know how much further you have to go and how long you have to get there. The time will rarely become a factor so long as you keep your foot on the gas. When you reach the destination and pull off the road, the real fun begins. Your mission is to track down a criminal that is hiding somewhere in the high-rise apartment complex with orders to either bring them in dead or alive, depending upon the severity of their crime. You have little more to go on than a general direction that lights up around your timer, which counts down quickly. Of course, it doesn't matter if you find the criminal or not, as you'll be able to move on to the next level even if they escape. Which is good, because the only thing you're really going to want to do is play around with your gun. Your handgun is on the short list of the greatest weapons to ever appear in a video game. When you encounter an enemy and pump a few shots into them, their torso explodes in a glorious display of gore. To add to their misery, they'll lay on the ground for a few seconds, flailing their arms around helplessly. It is without a doubt one of the most satisfying ways to dispatch an enemy you'll find in gaming regardless of era. You'll also have a backup weapon of sorts, a net gun, that you'll struggle to find a reason to use quite frankly. It's slow, non-lethal, and the only redeeming quality is the sound it makes when it wraps around an enemy. Fun, but not as fun as exploding torsos. Outside of your enemy explosion gun, this section of the game is a complete mess, which is putting it mildly. For starters, your cop moves in a slow, clunky way, which makes avoiding projectiles all but impossible. The enemies will appear randomly from doors, giving you little time to react, and will quickly beat you into submission. The level layouts can get sprawling once you get past the first couple of apartment complexes, which could have been fun to explore if it wasn't for the fact the timer countdown moves way too fast. So fast that if you don't already know exactly where you're going, it's going to be all but impossible for you to recover from making a wrong turn. If that wasn't bad enough, the confrontations with the target criminals are some of the absolute worst you'll ever experience. Take the first boss for example, a mullet-wearing bodybuilder in camo pants. When you come up to him, he'll shove a barrel of toxic waste at you, and then, well, he just stands there in the shoving pose. He doesn't try to escape, or deliver another attack. He took his shot and now just waits for the sweet relief of death. The other bosses aren't much better, with the second level magician that will appear in his cloud of smoke, take off his hat, vanish and reappear before escaping. And then there is the basement dweller that will fry you with a flamethrower before he's even on screen, making it virtually impossible for you to gun him down. The only saving grace is that with the short timer, you'll fail to make it to these fights half the time. Now, the designers of the game obviously knew they didn't have a winner on their hands, so they made the decision to fully embrace the violence. As you walk through the rundown apartments, you'll see murder victims with axes in their chest. At the entryway of the buildings, you'll typically see a kid running or jumping for joy, which comes to a quick end when they take a bullet to the face. Elderly woman pushing a baby carriage? Sorry, Grandma, that baby is on its own now. I bet the only person to survive the carnage is the prostitute who doesn't look too pleased that you're killing off her client base. By every conceivable measure, Techno Cop is not only one of the worst games on the Genesis, but one of the worst games of all time. Controls are terrible, the gameplay is frustratingly bad, and half the game is spent with the dull driving section. The only saving grace is the gratuitous violence, which is why you should absolutely play this title at least once. However, for those of you who can't track it down, here's 30 seconds of non-stop violence. Enjoy!